You know, when you hear that somebody broke up or they separated and everyone is totally shocked because on the outside they looked super happy. That was actually my story. When we broke up, people were genuinely shocked. My Instagram posts showed happy smiling faces, and when we hung out with friends, we were laughing, everything was all good. But behind closed doors, I had slowly been losing hope for a really long time. I was absolutely exhausted from being the only one trying. I would bring things up and he would just be like, we're fine, we don't need help, or you're thinking about it too much, or I would get a hard no when I asked him to work on our relationship. And I was doing everything that I could think of. I was trying, but I was drowning in arguments and fights and stress and tears and sleepless nights. What I didn't realize then, what I wish that someone had told me, was that sometimes the very things that we're doing to try to help our relationship, they actually create more distance. And I can see, oh my gosh, today I see so many women falling into the same patterns that I was doing and feeling just as alone as I was. I am Lindsay. This is Loving with Intention. Let's talk about what's really happening behind those perfect Instagram posts and why you are so not alone in this struggle. Before I dive in, I just want to share that I've put together a guide of 5 huge mistakes that I was making in our relationship, and I had no idea that I was making these mistakes. So in the guide, you'll get the mistakes and exactly what to do instead. Some of these things are such small shifts, but they make a huge difference. So you can just pop the word mistakes in the comments and I will share that with you. It's a game changer. So I have had so many moments where I've been shocked when people break up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought they were the perfect couple. I thought that everything was going so well. And this happens a lot. So I want to share more about my story, what was happening back in the hard days. You know, we would just get so triggered by each other. It could be the simplest question, like, did you grab the milk on the way home? Or what are you doing this weekend? And it could literally turn into a fight. Like we would get triggered, it would start to spiral, we would be bickering, we'd be negative with each other. There would be so many nights where we would get into an argument before bed to the point where one of us would go sleep in a different room because we didn't even want to be in the same bed with each other. And that just felt so hard. It felt like things were hopeless and it shouldn't be this way. Like if we can't figure this out before we go to bed, then what can we do? And then what would happen in the morning is I would wake up and, well, I would wake up from barely sleeping because I tended to just repeat the argument in my head over and over and over and stress about it and think about all of the things that he was saying. So I would get very, very little sleep. And then I would wake up not feeling great. I would feel absolutely exhausted. I was still feeling super hurt, super upset, did not feel good. And then, we'd meet up in the kitchen in the morning and I would be totally withdrawn. All I wanted was an apology. I just wanted, I would literally lay there and just think, if I woke up and he just apologized, I would be okay. That would be okay with me. I could move on from this. I just need to hear that apology. And that apology, it never came. It rarely came. It rarely came. And of course, I wasn't apologizing either. And I was very focused on, I just need that apology for things to feel good. But what would happen was, then I would be withdrawn and then it would be negative energy. One of us would get triggered. The first time that somebody talked, we would get triggered and we would usually end up having that same fight again, that same argument again, whatever that looked like. So many days I went to work feeling exhausted, upset, checking my phone, looking to see if he had texted to apologize, and that wasn't happening. And it just felt so hard. I felt like I wasn't showing up as me in so many areas of my life, like with work, with friends, with family when we would hang out because I was so stressed. I would talk to friends about what was going on. I would complain about things that he was doing. I would tell them things that he was doing. And I think part of me was looking for, I wanted somebody to say that's normal or that's okay, but that wasn't what I heard. I would hear this isn't okay and you don't sound happy and this shouldn't be happening. Of course, some friends would jump in and they would complain about their relationships too, but the overarching theme was this isn't okay. And I just really I felt really alone because again, there I am looking at other people's Instagram posts and things and thinking everybody had this happy, perfect life, not realizing that, oh, I'm posting the highlight reel too. And things aren't great behind closed doors. Things are so not great that we ended up breaking up. But I really didn't want to give up. I wanted us to work. I could see the good that was there. I could see the good moments. I felt them. They were so fun and I was hanging on to them, even though the bad moments were outweighing the good for sure. And that made me start to question, like, are these good moments even real? And when I say I was trying, oh my gosh, I was doing so much. I was reading a million relationship books, listening to podcasts. I can't even tell you how many Instagram posts that I screenshotted and saved and read over and over, looking at all the tips. I would leave relationship books out. I would read them in front of them, hoping that he would want to pick them up or want to get involved or be like inspired by the work that I was doing. I was going to therapy. I've been in therapy for years. And I was talking to friends again, like to find out if it was normal. And I also wanted support because I was feeling so alone. I was trying so hard though. I was like working on my communication. I was like, okay, if I bring this up and I use I feel language and if I stop things in the middle of the fight and I just say how I feel, then that's going to go well, but it wouldn't. It would just like keep blowing up. I was so motivated to keep going back and trying the things, but nothing was working. It literally felt like a losing battle. Like I was trying so hard and it wasn't going anywhere. And here's what hit me like a ton of bricks. Like truly, all those times, like I realized this later, all those times that he had said no to couples therapy, or when he would shut down when I would suggest like, let's talk about us. And he seemed not to care at all. It actually was not what I thought. So I totally interpreted his reactions is he doesn't care enough to try. He'll never want to work on things. He doesn't care about me. He must not love me. And what I know now changes everything. When I'd approach him for these big like relationship conversations and talks, both of our nervous systems were completely already in survival mode. Him shutting down or saying no, it wasn't about him not caring. It was literally a biological response to feeling unsafe, like in his body, not consciously, our nervous systems. And if you think about it, it's like we were both walking around feeling like we were walking on eggshells. We were triggered most of the time. The arguments, the stress, the tension, both feeling unheard. We didn't have emotional safety in our relationship or trust. And there I was trying to have like deep conversations in the middle of all that activation or tell him like, we need to work on things. So of course he said no. Of course he would shut it down. But instead of understanding this, I just kept pushing harder and harder, which made things worse. I was doing the absolute best I could with what I knew at the time, just like I know that you are right now. It's so easy for me to look back and be like, I should have done this differently. But how could I have done it differently? I didn't have all of the pieces of the puzzle. And there are so many, so many relationship tips out there. It's hard to find exactly what you should do. The game changer in our relationship, it wasn't, learning better communication techniques like I was trying to do or getting him to work on the relationship. It was about learning about our nervous systems. It was about working on myself. It was about starting to build emotional safety, healing and changing patterns. And I am so very grateful that we got to work on those things because we found our way back together. And we found our way back together. What I did was I texted him after over a month of being apart and having no contact at all. And we met for a weekend. We had really deep chats and slowly we entered into a relationship again, knowing that we both wanted it to be different. But knowing that and wanting that, it's never enough. So I went into relationship 2.0 with an entirely different mindset, entirely different focus. Instead of trying to change him, I learned to recognize my own triggers, slow down when things got heated, and create safety for both of us. He still wasn't ready to do the work, and that was okay. I had learned that trying to force him to do that, it wasn't effective. So I was trying new things. And I also learned that it is never about what's on the surface during fights and arguments, but that's what I was always focused on before. The first time I went to my therapist and I told her about a recent fight, and then I started getting curious about, I wonder what he was feeling or needing or what the fears were, what this might have triggered for him, and started thinking about that for myself too. Me and my therapist, we literally were like, yes, finally, we are talking about the thing that actually makes a difference. This is how we can change things. And I ended up eventually getting a relationship coach in a group coaching program. And that's where I learned so much of what I'm sharing. And through my work with this coach and working on the very things that I'm sharing, that was when my partner started showing interest in working on things. I wasn't making the same mistakes anymore. I was changing. So I share all of this because the reality is all that hard stuff I shared, and gosh, there's so much more. It was so painful in my relationship. This is what is going on behind closed doors in a lot of relationships, but you just wouldn't know it. And when you don't know it and you're experiencing it yourself, it can feel so lonely and like something is wrong with you. So I just want to say you are not broken. Your relationship is not broken. You are not alone. And if you're in the space right now where you're trying to do everything like I was, but nothing is working, I do want you to know that there's a way through this. And there's actually 5 stages of a thriving relationship. And the hard stuff, that's stage 2, the power struggle stage, which is good news because there's 3 more stages on the other side of that where we get to grow and create a thriving relationship when we know how. And that's the problem, is that most of us don't know how. And when we do, oh my gosh, there is so much hope. I was making, again, so many mistakes that are so common when we're struggling. So I did put together that quick guide of the 5 biggest ones with exactly what to do differently. And the what to do differently, that's what I started doing in Relationship 2.0. That's what I learned from my relationship coach that led to my partner getting interested in relationship growth and eventually the thriving relationship that we have today. So your intentional action is to pop mistakes in the comments to get that free guide. This is where it starts. Some of these are such small shifts, but they have a huge impact. And if you are feeling alone, just know that I see you. You are not alone. There are so many people struggling, and there is so much hope when we know exactly where to focus our energy. The video on the screen right now is another mistake that I was making when it came to expressing myself and having my partner hear me. I was always feeling totally unheard. So in this video, I share the approach that actually leaves you feeling heard and understood, which is the absolute best. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sending so much love and hope to your heart. Remember that nothing changes if nothing changes. So pop mistakes in the comments and I will share the free guide. Let's have a super intentional week. Bye.